July, covering all things professional wrestling. A show by members of the Busted Open Nation. Welcome to the Nation's Corner. Here are your hosts, the Nation's Corner crew.
Welcome to the Nation's Corner.
Where's everybody? It's me and you.
Who let us do a show by ourselves, John?
This is going to be a fantastic show already. It's only me and Deb and no one else around. We are unsupervised, so go ahead, Deb. Whatever the fuck you
Wholly
want.
unsupervised.
Yes.
Wholly unsupervised.
I have my mug full of coffee and whiskey, so let's effing go.
Let's effing go. Welcome everybody in the chat. I see we have John Bay out there. Welcome. Calling FCC now?
Yeah, do that. Do that, Tattletale.
You
do that. You get right on that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button along the way. Tell them to subscribe too. How's that? Then they could really get us.
There you go. Yeah, it is Saturday. Collision's going to be on in an hour. Revolution is tomorrow. We've had an insane week in wrestling all around with Cody and The Rock and Cena and Randy Orton coming back and all of it.
Yes,
all of it.
And we're here for all of it.
It's been insane.
Yes, absolutely.
But first, before we really get into everything, last night Seth and I went to go see Queen of the Ring, which we've seen heavily promoted.
Oof, if you watch TNA, folks, you know exactly what we're talking about. But yes, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. It looks like a fantastic movie. So, Deb, is Queen of the Ring a fantastic movie?
It really is a fantastic movie, in all honesty. We were really excited to go see it. I know it's not in all theaters, it's only in select theaters, but we got lucky that one of the theaters in our area was showing it. So definitely check your movie times in your area if you want to go see it. I would definitely recommend seeing it in the theaters. Just to be able to help out not only the movie and the people that worked on the movie, but help out wrestling as a whole. Like, this is what we love to talk about and enjoy, and it's our favorite form of entertainment. And every person can, like, one by one individually help show those zombies in Hollywood that people want stories about wrestling.
That's stories right, about wrestling just on the 37th floor anymore. They're everywhere.
Yes.
They have grown and
those zombies are everywhere, and they're even in Hollywood, and they sometimes decide what movies get shown where and if they even get made. So yes, it was a fantastic movie. It was a great movie about wrestling, but it was also a great movie about just a story of a woman who was such a pioneer in wrestling, in her sport as a woman. And, you know, as a female wrestling fan, it was so awesome to see that. Like, I think for the most part, Mildred Burke has gotten lost to history in a lot of ways. Like, I honestly had never even heard of her until the NWA did the whole thing, bringing back her original title with Camille. I never heard of her before that, and I think she's a pioneer that just got lost to history. And, you know, as far as the women of that generation, like, as a WWE fan in my 20s, like, I knew who Mae Young was, and I knew who the Fabulous Moolah was, but I had never heard of Mildred Burke, and I think that's a shame. So yeah, her story deserved to be told. It was a phenomenal movie. I honestly can't say enough great things about it, but I don't want to spoil anything. So I don't want to actually, like, talk about what happened in the movie.
All right.
But it was so good.
Okay. I just have one quick, honest question, Deb.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to appeal to us obviously because of the wrestling aspect besides the story that is also telling.
Yeah.
Would you be comfortable or taking a non-wrestling fan to go see the movie?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And just because it's a human story. And this is one of the things I remember talking about with heels as well. That non-wrestling fans can enjoy it even though it's about wrestling, because it's a human story about people overcoming the odds and following their dreams and having hardships. And it's non-wrestling fans can absolutely enjoy it. I think they did a really good job of explaining wrestling along the way so that non-wrestling fans can kind of go like, okay, I understand how things work. I understand how it's done. Like right off the bat, they explained the terms babyface and heel, just in the course of dialogue, pretty much. And just to give non-wrestling fans like, okay, I get what's going on. She's going to this match to see this match. They're kind of explaining why she's excited to like boo that person and cheer that person. And even things like showing how pro wrestling came from the carnival business. I thought that was really well done. Like showing how it evolved, that it was in a carnival business and they traveled on the road in the carnivals, and how it evolved to them kind of going out of the carnivals and doing their own feature shows in like theaters and small arenas and stuff. And I think they did a really good job of showing that, so non-wrestling fans can kind of understand like the root of the sport and like why pro wrestling, like we see WWE on TV right now and it's so huge, it's so big, but the roots of where it came from. And I thought that was really good. So definitely non-wrestling fans could enjoy it.
So there you go. Deb gives it 5 wine glasses. So go see it.
Yeah. 5 stars. And also, the wrestlers that were featured in the movie, Camille most of the movie, Tony Storm was in a decent chunk, featured character. We saw Mickey James in the background of a segment. She looks absolutely phenomenal, by the way. Yeah, so and Naomi, she was in a good chunk of it too, a bunch of scenes. They did an absolute great job. But the other actors, the non-wrestler actors, did a really, really good job making it look like they were a wrestler. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. Very
like you
cool.
couldn't tell that was just an actor and the other person was an actual pro wrestler.
Well, it is a movie, so. But overall, 2 thumbs up.
5 stars.
Okay.
Yes. 5 stars.
All right.
As they say.
Yes.
So, where do you want to go first? Probably on the WWE side first before we get into Revolution?
I don't know. We don't have a format or nothing, so let's just whatever you feel like.
All right.
I'm just over here playing with buttons.
So I just watched the clips a few minutes ago to get up to speed on what happened last night on SmackDown.
Okay.
So we had the heel turn that shook the world.
Sure.
Everybody's talked about that. I'm personally and absolutely loving the memes that have come out of all this stuff. Like that, to me, that's the best part.
Yes.
That's the best. So I don't know, where do we want to go with this? So we saw Cody last night.
Yeah.
Well, first we saw Randy. We saw Randy. Speaking to John Cena.
Yes. Big ovation from the Philly crowd.
Yes.
Extended ovation for him, and rightfully so.
Yes.
And yes, he was talking directly to Kevin Owens, and then kind of switched Kevin Owens, and wound up talking directly to John Cena. And where Randy Orton has been so good for so long, and he kind of wrongfully falls into that. You always expect them to be fantastic no matter what. But we are in the past probably 5 years, and call it maturity, call it being comfortable with who and what you are. Yeah. Randy Orton is absolutely doing his absolute best work in and out of the ring. He is in phenomenal shape for a man his age, and has even gotten in better shape. And his mic skills and promo skills, he is absolutely must listen, must watch now. He's on that Cody, Roman, Heyman level, that when he has, and CM Punk level, that when he has a microphone in his hands, you're putting the remote down, you're putting down your drink or whatever, and you're listening and watching what he has to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Orton has been one of my longtime favorites. And I definitely agree that he's just kind of one of those people that's like tried and true. And he's so effortlessly good at everything that we don't even realize it half the time.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. Very good point with Randy.
Yeah, every time he speaks, it's like, man, this guy is so good. He's so good. He looks the best he's ever looked, in my opinion.
And our truth, I'm not even sure if that's PG moment. We had that last night, but Randy Orton called John Cena the Rock's bottom.
Yeah, there's that.
There's the that. Delivery of that, and the wry smile on his face as he was saying it, knowing that, yeah, you might want to dump this, but I'm gonna let it fly anyway. And that's this maturity, this confidence, that comfort that he is to go out and say and do whatever he wants. And if they censor it, oh well, but I'm still gonna say it.
Exactly. And he's like pretty much tenured enough that he probably knows that he can get away with way more than most people.
Yes, he is absolute Teflon within the WWE. Absolutely.
Yeah. So then there's the Cody thing. Everybody was all, eager to see what Cody would have to say. They spent a good chunk of time on Busted Open yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Talking about what we need to hear from Cody. And first of all, I got to give props to Tommy Dreamer on Busted Open yesterday for cutting one hell of a promo.
Yes.
As he was discussing what he envisioned Cody would say.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, sometimes we get these little glimpses from Tommy where we're like, oh yeah, that's why he's so good at what he does.
Tommy. And rightfully so, a nice shout out on commentary last night from Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore for naming Tommy Dreamer, especially given the hardcore match with Mia Yim and Chelsea Green, which will finish your Cody thought, because I want to talk about that match for a moment specifically.
Yes.
When you're done.
So yeah, Cody's promo, I literally just watched it right before we went live. I like where this is going. I'm kind of interested. Okay, so I would say, I know I say interesting a lot, but I think I'm a little indifferent here or there. I like it, but I want to see more.
Fair.
But I do like how he ended it, throwing Cena's classic line back at him. You want some? Come get some. I like that.
Yeah, I thought he did. I would have liked a little more fire, a little more vitriol out of Cody for it. Although he delivered it fantastic and absolutely ended on that high note and really turned the attention to what I think it should be, the match between him and Cena at WrestleMania.
Yes.
That should and hopefully will be the main focus. The Rock and everything else aside, the main focus should be on the main event, night 2, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. So I thought that where he could have gone off and steered it in a couple of different directions, he kept it on point to make sure that the match coming up was the main focus and is the main focus.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's what most WWE fans right now are kind of looking for. Is I don't really see a lot of people that are all that interested in having The Rock involved. It's unfortunate to say, but it's true.
Well, like it or not, it's going to happen. But I agree.
Of course, we have to deal with it.
Yeah, and to the extent, does it really need it? No, I don't think so.
No.
There's enough of just history in general and enough of marquee names to sell the match. But what The Rock does bring and has brought in the past, and we're all well aware of this, is what's the next step?
Yes.
We know we're getting the match. We know that the lead up to it is going to be the most entertaining part, leading up to an absolutely main event worthy second night main event match between the two of them. Yeah. That part's all solid. It's how we get there. What kind of twists, turns, detours, U-turns are we going to make between now and April? That's the interesting part, and that's what's got everybody hooked.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is WWE's strength. Like I've been kind of like taking some time to kind of contemplate like what I like about WWE and what I like about AEW, and like which different parts of it that I like. And WWE's strength is definitely that they're big business, big money, the spectacle, these massive names that gives you that like, filling a massive stadium kind of feel.
Right.
And that's always going to be like what grabs the mainstream, of course, because it's the biggest.
Absolutely.
And that is definitely their strength. And, I'm glad to see that they're back to that, because for quite a number of years, things weren't going so well. It wasn't. It wasn't. So I'm glad to see that they're back to that, because WWE, I feel like, is so mainstream right now. And, yes, like a lot of other things in wrestling are bigger than they ever have been before. But WWE being so mainstream and wrestling kind of feeling cool again is, I think it's so good, because like, I think they were kind of having this, sorry to go on a tangent here. I think they were having this discussion on Busted Open the one day about like, the years where you kind of felt like almost ashamed to say that you're a wrestling fan. Like it wasn't cool. It wasn't the cool thing that everybody was talking about.
Right.
And now I feel that it is. And there's more conversations happening about wrestling, about what's happening on wrestling. I mean, last week, Jon Stewart did a segment on The Daily Show where he tied in political stuff to John Cena's heel turn, and did a full comparison about how John Cena's heel turn is like part of our society. It's insane.
It's and as in eras past when quote unquote wrestling was hot and people were talking about it. Now we are in this age of social media platforms. So when they say global reach, it really is instant global reach. And now you just don't have, us in the US or whatever talking about it. You literally have people all over the world.
Yeah.
They did a WWE showed a quick clip of the Cena heel turn, and when he kicks Cody in the nuts, all the commentators from the various countries and languages freaking out just as much as they all were on commentary. The commentary from all these different countries and different languages, and they're losing their minds as well. And that's exactly what we're dealing with. This is, you know, whatever those commentators for those specific languages or whatever, that's a whole group of a segment of the world that is reacting the exact same way. So it's absolutely global reach that we're talking about now.
Yeah, and social media has been pretty incredible for wrestling. You know, obviously there's negatives, but the fact that so many more of us have so much access to different wrestling around the world without having to, like, you know, go to some great lengths to acquire a tape from somebody, whatever.
Hey, don't knock the tape trading. That was all we had. We made do, damn it. Damn kids.
Like, we could go.
Don't know how easy you have it today.
We could go online and pretty much, like, easily.
I don't want to type
have access to anything.
It's off. We live with life and limb. It's sketchy mail delivery. And even sketchier people that get tickets from. Damn kids. Piss off all you. Get off my lawn.
But okay, so another tangent here that kind of reminds me of, so last year when we went to Philly for WrestleMania weekend, and, you know, because it was in Philly, there was all the buzz about ECW and the ECW related stuff, and, you know, I'm sure you heard it too, but there was so much chatter from various people, like on social media, and that we heard, you know, while we were there that weekend, about people who had, like, heard so much about ECW, but never actually got to see it because where they are in the world, it wasn't available. And it's like, it's crazy to think about, if social media, the way it is now, was available back then, how much bigger could ECW have been if more people were able to see it?
Oh, no. We would have been shut down within the first 6 months. we probably all still have arrest records from it. It would have been, they'd be like, what? Who? What? No, we don't talk about that no more.
Yeah. But so, like, okay, so for instance, yes, society is very different these days. But for instance, we have GCW, which is, I would say, the modern day's most, like, comparable.
Like ECW, the ECW,
yeah, most comparable.
Yes.
In the modern day. And so GCW is insanely popular among wrestling fans. Like, they're an indie company that gets to travel the world.
Yes.
That's just insane.
You know, they're about to embark upon their European tour. I believe right before or right after the Collective. They're going back over to Europe. You know,
that's so cool as an indie company.
Yeah. You know, no regular no regular television, so to speak, of any kind. Not streaming, not anywhere, nothing. Although they run a quote unquote a pay-per-view damn near every weekend on Trilla TV. So that's their TV.
Show nearly every night. Come on. Yeah, we can't keep up.
But that's their TV. And you can literally, you know, just off of their pay-per-views with no other programming or anything whatsoever, you can follow along with the stories they tell. Now,
it's a weekly show.
Yeah. And the rosters are somewhat revolving. They bring in different people depending on where they're at, but you have a core group of people there that you see almost every week at a GCW show, and they have absolutely, Brett Lauderdale and his people have absolutely carved out a niche of their own, and it's absolutely working for them.
It really is. It really is working.
And you get to see it live, and I'm going to be there. Woohoo!
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll get to meet Effie. That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
All right, let's shift over to the AEW side. Beauty and the Beast. Thanks, Elder. Calling me a beast.
Hey, don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Hate me because I'm right.
Okay. So on the AEW front, we have Collision tonight, starting in roughly 33 minutes. So tonight we will hear from Cope, which will be the last time we hear him speak before his match against Mox tomorrow at Revolution. Right? We get Danny Garcia versus Lee Moriarty for the TNT Championship. Momo Watanabe versus Serena Deeb. Hologram versus Dralistico, and we'll get to see Harley Cameron in action. So I'm assuming that means against a local indie star.
Right. But regardless, we get to feel the wrath.
We get to feel the
I wonder if she'll bring the puppet again.
So tonight from Collision, I am definitely, obviously, mostly interested in what we're going to hear from Cope. I personally feel that, yes, the Death Riders story didn't pan out as maybe imagined. You know, most people weren't really that invested in it. Most people didn't really understand what it's about. And yes, Mox spends most of his time speaking in cryptics, and we don't know what he's talking about. But I think the last couple weeks they've done a really good job of kind of making this about something where we saw, you know, we've been seeing for months and months and months Yuta kind of being the punching bag. He's the young boy that gets tossed out to take the beating and gets thrown under the bus time and time and time again every single week. And I found it very interesting on Dynamite when Cope shook his hand after their match and said, "That's what respect feels like." Yeah. And it was kind of planting that seed in Yuta.
You could see
enough is enough.
And off of that, and after that, you had that very non-cryptic promo from Mox and saying, you know, I have you. Congratulations, Cope. You've done it. I'm all alone. It's only good to be me and you. You were taken out, and now not only have you beaten Yuta physically, but now you've beaten his mind, and all that, and actually made, you know, got me a little more invested in this match because it is just more than a title fight.
Yeah, they made it about something now.
Yes,
that it's about Mox being dominant, even though we didn't really understand his mission or whatever. He has, you know, dominated, you know, a good chunk of the roster and taken people out one by one. And now he's feeling people turning on him and he's feeling vulnerable for the first time.
Yes.
So absolutely. It's gotta be that it's gotta be that time to flip the switch.
Right. I agree. Here's the whole problem, and one of the things, and they talked about it on Busted Open. You can't proclaim yourself a champion with a title in a briefcase.
Right.
Where, regardless of how different the AEW fan thinks or wants to think than anything else, everybody is pre-programmed to know that whoever is physically holding that belt, that is the champion. And you see that belt and you associate that, it's an image association with that person and the belt. That this person, for whatever reason, is important. But when you don't have that element, now you just have some guy kind of ranting and raving and screaming and a bunch of other people. And and that's one of the problems I inherently have had with the Death Riders since day one is I understand it was a very cool concept and I liked the idea, but it was almost too cryptic. They never gave, Mox never has given a mission statement, or a clear purpose that, you know, he's going to, turn AEW upside down and he's going to change everything. But what are you going to do?
Right, exactly.
Besides being the champion, what are you going to do? And we've never really seen that. And I agree. I think it's time to give Cope a run. We know he is more than capable. We have a Hall of Fame career in another company that proves he's more than capable of being the champion and support and make it mean something. So I don't want to say that Death Riders were a failure, but I want to say more like a failure to launch. It had a lot of good initial, but just never got quite off the liftoff stages. And
exactly.
And maybe maybe they're not. Maybe this is leading to something else. But at this point, I'm not really sure what that is.
One thing about that is, I agree that it's a failure to launch, so to speak. But I do think that there are details that they can still make something out of. The people abandoning Mox, that he's vulnerable. Cope, if he wins, what about Christian?
Right.
We have Christian and that's pretty much lingering.
And for a company that doesn't quote unquote tell stories, that is a very important piece that I feel has been missing. Christian still has that cash-in or guaranteed contract or whatever that he hasn't used, and he has been conspicuously absent in all this.
Exactly.
So could we see the double switch at the end of the night coming in tomorrow night? Hopefully not near midnight, because some of us got to get up and go to work in the morning. But could we see it? It's very, very much a possibility, and I'm sure somewhere between now and the actual pay-per-view and the actual match, somebody's going to make mention of it just to say, aha, we got this over here.
So this is what I think is one of AEW's strengths, is that they're in a lot of the stories that they tell, and I'm just going to use this one as an example. There's details that may get forgotten, but then become important later. I really feel like AEW rewards the people that actually really pay attention to the details. We've had little minor hints of the Elite possibly making their return, the Young Bucks specifically.
Right.
We've had little minor hints of that. From social media posts and little things. So not only where does Christian fit into this, and when is the trigger going to be pulled on that? That's a detail that for people who remember it, that's going to be a reward. And if you're not paying attention and you don't remember, you're not going to get it. And that's also where Everything Counts comes in. If we talk about Everything Counts with WWE, there are so many details you have to pay attention to get the full picture. I really think it's the same with AEW. You have to pay attention to the details to get the full picture. And in the end, if you're patient, it will come to fruition. We have the Bucks possibly making their return. When the Bucks left, they were seen in their offices shredding documents of some sort.
Right.
What the fuck was that? So we have that.
We have questions. We have questions.
We have questions. And that is good. We just heard a lot of discussion the past week or 2 weeks about on the WWE side, when there's some things that happen that you have more questions, you have feelings, you have questions, you need answers. That makes you want to watch to see what happens. There's so many details in this that I think are flying under the radar for most people. And that for those who remember those details will be rewarded.
Whatever the fallout of the Cope Moxley match is, if they don't do one thing Tony Khan yet again is absolutely fumbling the ball. Give us Marina Shafir versus Willow now, please.
Wrestling fans love to say that word fumble. They love it.
Yes.
Love
do not
it.
sleep on that. Give us Marina and Willow ASAP. You let this go by the wayside because the story's over. You're a fucking idiot. Being the bigger idiot that I've called you a fucking idiot in the past. Come on, man.
Yeah, we do need that, and there has been
Booker of the Year, my ass. You let that go.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a wrinkle in the story that needs to continue. Absolutely needs to continue.
Yes. All right.
Wherever this may go.
All right. What do you want to go do next?
Since John Bay mentioned it in the chat, let's go to Harley and Tony, which I would hope is the main event. So we're going to be kind of skipping around here. Tony and Mariah, yes.
Yeah. I agree. It should be the main event. It probably won't be. It probably won't be. It'll probably be Mox and Cope. But I'm sorry. If you want to go at match quality and story quality, this is a main event.
And just look at that graphic right there. How pretty is that?
That is, and I'll just flash through a couple other ones. Here's the other women's match. Okay.
That's a great poster.
That's a great poster. But here's your AEW Tag Team Champions. But this is
that's going to be a great match too.
This is presentation. This is great.
Yes.
And they've really kind of built this story, and it's a great tie-in because obviously Tony is in Queen of the Ring, as we discussed earlier, and they're in LA, and Tony has absolutely mesmerized us with this timeless Tony Storm movie actress character that she has been playing. So it all ties perfectly, and it's a fantastic poster. And again, it's a great story that they've kind of flipped the script on. At first, it was Tony losing her mind after Mariah beat her, and to the point where she reverted back to her quote unquote childhood and just became Tony Storm again. And now we're seeing Mariah having the breakdown, having the unraveling, and both of these chicks are batshit crazy, and I love it because
it's incredible.
It's and they're using different elements and verbiage in their promos. It's absolutely the best thing AEW has right now, bar none.
Absolutely. So there's a couple things that I'll mention when we get to the next match. Okay. But as far as long-term storytelling in AEW, I know that's like a misnomer. Nobody thinks that exists, but I promise you it does. Long-term storytelling in AEW, and this is it.
Yeah.
These two ladies have had an epic tale. Deserving of a fabulous Hollywood ending.
Yes. I'm anticipating just the match itself because they're both excellent in the ring. Mariah May, from her back in her early days, from when she was in Japan and Stardom, when she was still starting out and learning, to what she has progressed to in the ring now, is fantastic. She has absolutely grown and gotten infinitely better in the ring, and we all know how good in ring Tony Storm is. So but it's the other nuances. It's the Hollywood ending. I'm most curious and excited to see how they're going to end this up. What other twists are going to come along? Is this the end of it? Will it go on from here? So that alone is enough to get me to tune in.
Right. So what I think, the evolution of Timeless Tony Storm, we've seen her kind of evolve from the way the Timeless Tony Storm is now is different than the way Timeless Tony Storm is before when she had the title. She's kind of evolving through the era of Hollywood starlet.
Yes.
So I will be interested if she continues that evolution.
You know, could we now will we start to see maybe a late 50s, early 60s Toni Storm? Will that revolve into a quote unquote hippie era hair? You know, Toni Storm grows his hair down to the waist and comes out wearing macrame and tie dye, you know, and make it like she's dropping acid and stuff. She goes through that, but we don't know, and that's part of the beauty of it is that we don't know, and we don't know. You know, at this point, she has absolutely enough equity built up that she literally she could go through. Can you imagine like spiky, crazy 80s, big poofy hair, Toni Storm coming out?
Oh my
with, like 10 pounds of Aquanet in her hair.
Oh Jesus!
You know, being some like metal chick from the late 80s, early 90s, you know, a hairband chick, they'd be fantastic. But you know, and we don't know. So it
could go anywhere.
Yeah. You know.
That really is the beauty of this story, is that there's so much potential. There's just so much potential, and I have complete confidence in the writing of this.
Well, here's the only issue I see with that. If it's Toni herself, and obviously the kind of mastermind behind this all, besides Toni, RJ City, they are absolutely capable of putting any of that into motion. The problem you run into is Toni needs a dance partner. She needs an opponent.
True.
And AEW, other than some bright spots, has a division full of people who are not quite used to that, being in that type of role, being the foil to a main character. And that's the only thing that concerns me, because as great as all of this is with Toni, and more than capable of holding up her end, who do you put her against or put her with that can hold up their end? And that's where it gets tricky. That's where you kind of start scratching your head.
Yeah, that's definitely the next thing. If this is actually the, you know, their Hollywood ending, the final curtain call for the story between these two ladies, yes, then where does Toni go next? Who is going to be her next target, or the next person possibly coming after her? I guess we'll just have to tune in and wait and find out.
Yeah. We'll have to watch on Wednesdays and Saturdays to see.
Yeah. Okay, so what's next? I want to talk about Hangman and MJF for a few minutes. That is an insane poster.
That is. It's very good.
To whatever artist did
Which
that.
I don't understand. You have this that's very, very stark and actually kind of beautiful, and a very grandiose Hollywood type poster from Ryan, and the rest of these guys who work just as hard get these generic stock fucking splash graphics. You know, come on, guys, pick a side here.
So AEW always puts out their standard match graphics that are themed with the graphics of the show.
Right.
But then some of the matches, not all of them, but some of the matches get these special posters that they go on and sell on Pro Wrestling Tees and stuff.
Right.
And I always look forward to seeing what the special posters are for the pay-per-views, because it really, really is some incredible artwork and graphic design work. So kudos to whatever the artists out there are making this stuff. You know, honestly, I think, like, side tangent here, we're in such an interesting era of pro wrestling where there are so many amazing graphic design artists putting out so much cool artwork.
Yes.
It's ridiculous across the board. It is ridiculous how many talented people work in the wrestling industry ancillarily, if that's a word.
Ooh, there's your word of the week, folks. Look that one up. Get out your dictionary for that one. Anyway, go ahead.
I think that's a word. And there's so many talented people like putting out content.
Yes.
We have, just working with AEW, we have Mel Coleman, who does a lot of paintings, and thank you, John Bay. There's forgive me, I'm blanking on her name right now, but there's the girl that's been working with AEW. She did the Julia Hart vignettes for Julia Hart's return. I saw she did a photo shoot with Thunder like last week. She's done a lot of stuff, photos and promo videos and stuff. Incredibly talented. But yeah, there's so many good artists out there. So yeah, kudos to those people. But yeah, back on track. Hangman and MJF. The segment on Dynamite this week was just insanity. Just literal insanity. I'm really, really, really enjoying this rivalry between MJF and Hangman. And so Hangman specifically, I think is one of the best examples of long-term storytelling in AEW. Hangman's character has been a continual storyline for the entirety of the existence of AEW. There has never been a complete stop, restart, new character. It has been one continuous storyline of the evolution of the character of Hangman.
Right.
And the fans freaking love him. The fans absolutely adore Hangman. And, MJF brought it up in his promo that the fans will constantly say Hangman did nothing wrong. That's like a social media kind of tagline for the AEW fans at this point. Hangman did nothing wrong.
The man committed felonies. He burned the house down. It was a Yule log on TNT, for Christ's sake.
That was fantastic.
It was.
I made my wallpaper on my desktop computer at work. That image of
I'm sure you
Hangman drinking. Was it whiskey?
Yep.
Jack Daniels, whatever it was, whiskey,
sipping
bourbon,
whiskey.
something.
Yeah.
In front of the burning house. Yes. I made that picture, the wallpaper, on my work computer, and I'm waiting for someone to say something about it. I'm waiting.
But I agree 100%. You're right. The Hangman, and people say, oh, well, yes, he is absolutely very different from the Hangman we first saw as part of the Elite and all that, and his introduction leading up to the first championship match where he was Chris Jericho's opponent. And from then till now, it's a completely different character. But you're right. It hasn't been stop, start, and new start or anything like that.
Yeah.
This is actually, like you put, an evolution up to where he is now. And he's only gotten better from it. There's been no regression. And even at first, even in the evolutions, you're kind of like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I know where he's going. And every time you're able to go follow along with him, and it obviously the fans have never left him. They were invested with him day one, and they're still invested with him today.
Yeah. Exactly. So I saw some social media chatter over the course of this past week about Hangman, that apparently it was a whole thing that, the female fans love Hangman, obviously. And apparently it was a whole thing of people trying to use that as a negative in some sort of way and say oh, that's bad that women love him or whatever, or trying to use that in a way to put down AEW by saying that women love him. I distinctly remember Bully saying on Busted Open several years ago that it is one of the marks of success. I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember the exact words, obviously. But it is one of the marks of success in wrestling is how many women are in the crowd.
Sure.
If Hangman brings in the women and brings in the female fans and the female audience, why would you stop that? Why would you not like that?
Yes. And it's true.
Why would you not like that there's more women getting into wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
More women being interested in watching the show?
Yeah.
Sure, sometimes maybe it starts as like, oh, they're, you know, these super jacked, hot, athletic men who are, you know, sweating in a wrestling ring. Sure, maybe starts as that. Like, I get to sit here for a couple hours and watch hot men. Sure, yeah. But, you know, then we become fans.
Prove that. I will prove that theory. 2 words, Deb. Ethan Page.
What more do you need to know?
If you folks watching at home and everything don't get to see, but whenever those 2 words are mentioned or the image is on the screen, let me tell you, Deb is fully interested and invested.
Although I can't watch it anymore.
Oh,
for a while, I was literally just tuning into the segment that Ethan Page was on NXT, and now I don't get the channel at all anymore, so I can't watch it. So,
but to be fair, you act the same exact way with Rhea Ripley. So, welcome.
Who doesn't?
Come. We have a seat at the table here with us. All the rest of us that act the exact same way when she comes on screen. So,
where's Neil?
It's cool. It's cool. You know, this is a safe space. You're welcome here. Come and enjoy with us. Everything's fine.
Okay. Yes. Point stands is if Hangman is bringing in female fans, who in their right mind is not okay with that?
I those are people who just, well, they're people who don't deserve an ounce of and even an iota, if you will, of my energy and time. But yes, the whole idea is to get eyes on the product, live, on TV, whatever. And whatever that is, male, female, you know, oh, this guy's cute, that chick's weird. You know, whatever it is, if it puts eyes on the product, how can you say that's a bad thing? You know, these are eyes that you normally wouldn't have. And especially with AEW, who struggles with viewership, struggles with putting asses in seats. You should be, as a fan, I want everybody to come in and check it out. This, you may like this. Come here, look at this. And then if you like it, okay, this is how you can watch it. But to say it's bad, don't fuck yourself, man. You don't get it. You just don't get it.
Exactly. Okay, so are there any really quick, since we only have a couple minutes left, I wanted to touch on Swerve and Ricochet. I think we don't have a special graphic for this one, unfortunately.
Sure.
I'm hoping they release a special graphic for that either later tonight or tomorrow. I really think that Ricochet is doing the best work of his career at the moment, honestly.
I agree and disagree. I agree, yes. And everybody's like, oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Well, no, it's not. Because we have a very, very small sample size of what we've seen of him on TV, and that's WWE and NXT or AEW combined. We have a very small sample size of what his quote unquote promo skills are. I find his current character extremely annoying, like to the point.
And you're supposed to.
Exactly. That's exactly.
You're supposed to not like him.
No, and I want to see Swerve turn him into a piece of bloody pulp tomorrow night. Yes, and you know, and I understand that a lot of people think it's not, you know, it's not heat, it's not heel heat, it's go away heat that they just don't want them, and
there's no such thing,
and. But like you said, that's the point. You don't want to see him on your TV. You don't want to hear him open that. You don't want to hear that stupid bird caca laugh or whatever he does. You want to cringe at it. But aha, that's what is working. We all know that in the ring he is absolutely unbelievable, and it's going to be a fantastic match with these two. Because Swerve is probably one of the few guys in AEW right now that can match a full speed Ricochet pace for an entire match. Yeah. So that part is fine, but the build up for it and all that, and I'm sorry, a mad pissed off Prince Nana because he stole the embassy coat is worth its weight in gold. That's what actually.
And I didn't know the backstory behind that. I'm sure you are the hardcore fan that knows all that stuff.
Yes.
I didn't know the backstory behind it.
I won't bore everybody with it, but just if you have a chance to get on YouTube and Google Prince Nana, or get on YouTube and search Prince Nana and or Embassy, and you'll learn the story of the coat that Ricochet currently owns and all that. And it's actually a really good wrestling story that's actually now transcended 3 companies.
Right. And that's another cool thing is that AEW is able to kind of go back to wrestling history.
Well, it's tough
because AEW's only been around for 5 years, so they don't have a ton of their own history. Like, we're currently seeing things in WWE where they're drawing on things that happened 10 plus years ago. AEW doesn't have that long of the history, but they can draw on the ROH history. Right. They can, they are able to kind of even occasionally reference things that happened in WWE in the past.
Yes.
Like, there shouldn't be this separate line where they're not allowed to acknowledge wrestling history, especially when so much of the wrestlers kind of go all around back and forth all the time.
And that's the thing. It's history. It's out there.
It's history. It's wrestling. It is pro wrestling.
It happened. Chances are it's a quick YouTube or Google search away from seeing, whatever the thing, if you're not aware. And this is where, amongst my laundry list of problems I have with AEW and Tony Khan and how they handle Ring of Honor is absolutely, you have 20 plus years of legitimate history with a lot of your current and major stars in your promotion that you can call back to at any second. Now, one of the most captivating things we saw in the past or last year, even though it was very brief, was Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness.
Yeah.
And that was strictly taken all from Ring of Honor. And as it should be, because it was that big of a deal then. And there was no feud hotter than Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness back in the day. And they were able to bring that into the modern time and put it as part of their story and really educate their fans in the process. So I agree. It's fantastic when any company does that, when you can call upon things that people, because that, again, it generates interest. Something that maybe like you said, you don't know the history of the embassy coat, but now you're inclined. Why? Because of this match, and it's become a focal point in this match, and you're not really sure why, because it's never happened in AEW. But now you're interested in going to see why is this so special, other than being a very ornate type of coat.
Yeah, and I encourage anyone who's interested in kind of getting up to speed on stories and what's happening or backstories. AEW has a lot of content on their YouTube. They do a series, AEW Timelines, where they kind of, it's just like an extended video recapping a long storyline or backstory or whatever. They do put out a lot of content on their YouTube that people are probably not aware of, that can get you up to speed on
I will say AEW overall does an excellent job with their quote unquote non-wrestling or non-programming content. You know, the Renee Paquette interview series.
Oh, those are incredible on a weekly basis.
Yeah. AEW with RJ City is again, and it's not necessarily show or anything in ring related, but they're very entertaining, and they kind of, you know, and they have in the past, and I hope they continue. They've kind of interwoven things from that other content into programming, and they do an excellent job with it.
Yeah, they do a really great job of having it, like you said, interwoven into current storylines. The guests that we see on AEW Weekly are often very topical to whoever is, you know, on the tip of the tongue of the fans at the moment. Whatever's going on in certain stories. You know, you get to see people in kind of a different element, and the close-up interviews with Renee are awesome because that's long form interviews. We don't there's not enough time on a Dynamite to show a long 20-minute interview with someone, but they can put that on their YouTube Weekly and then show a clip of it on Dynamite as a teaser to get you to go watch the video on YouTube. So yeah, they do a great job of that for sure. All right, shall we? Collision just started a minute ago, so let's go ahead and sign off on here so we can let people go watch Collision and do whatever else they want to do.
Okay.
All right. Anything that you want to add as a final?
No. Enjoy wrestling, folks. Enjoy this venerable $60 casino buffet of wrestling that we get weekly and daily. That if you can't find something out there that you like or you want to watch, enjoy, no matter what it is, take up golf. Just stop. Take up golf. Take up crocheting. You're not a wrestling fan.
Tennis, maybe?
A little too physical for my taste, but whatever. Whatever it is. You know, you're not a wrestling fan, so stop it. Just stop it and stop trying to ruin it for the rest of us. Because we're tired of your shit, and we're not going to listen to it. We're not going to engage with you. We're not going to debate with you. We're not going to do anything. We're going to let you wither on the vine and die like the weed you are.
Well said.
On that note, you can get with me on the social medias, the Twitter and Instagram specifically, at Twisted Metal Fab, as it says on the screen. And, of course, thanks, Deb. Hashtag Nation's Corner on Location is taking a rare weekend off this weekend. However, next weekend is jam-packed. I am venturing over to Williamstown, New Jersey, and Matt Tremont's H2O Center for IGB Intergender Bonanza 22, all creamed out. I will be in attendance for Stan Styles and his group, putting on a very, very, very entertaining. And if you can, come see it live in Williamstown or catch it on AEW TV. He has a very interesting mix of characters, and it's true intergender wrestling. You will see male versus female in regular matches and tag team matches and all kinds of gimmick matches, and they're always an absolute blast. And I'm very excited to see it because one of the matches announced originally, that when this first was announced late last year that this show was coming, some interesting developments. I will not be only seeing one, but two new WWID members in a match, as in Marcus Mathers versus the Real Deal Zeta Steel.
Yes.
So,
love them both.
And of course, a bunch of other matches, but I'm very excited to see them too and see two WWEID people live and in person. And then, and then the following day, and I don't care what MJF says, it is not the most magical place on earth. Far from it. But I get to spend the day with my brother, Mongrovian Mike, who was on Granddaddy duties tonight. We are going to the big event in Elmwood, New York.
Fun.
Yes, we're going to spend the day there. And then I believe that night, VPW, Victory Pro Wrestling, out there on Long Island, is doing a show, and we are going to be attending that. And sometime I get to spend time with the lovely Jackie, at Casa Monrovia with my two favorite dogs. Two favorite dogs, my pretty girl and my good boy. And eventually I get to leave Long Island, which is the greatest part of it all. I get to come back to beautiful South Jersey. So also, one last thing. The Secret Lab, ladies and gentlemen, has been at work. They have been designing and refining and crafting. And much like Tony Stark, as he continued to refine and improve the Iron Man suit throughout his lifespan, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the rumors are true. There is an Ass Kicker 9K 4.0 in the works. Coming soon.
Oh boy. Watch out.
Yet again, proving that not only is it the most dangerous weapon in all of professional wrestling, it is also the most evolving. And you can keep up with his exploits at AssKicker9K on the Instagram. And I'm done.
Yes. All right. So I am at That's So Debonair on the Twitter machine and on the Instagram. And to remind everyone that Moxley is actually a face and he will turn face. We will see it happen because we all know that he's actually a baby face. I have my Mox print right here that I got from Orange Crush and my OG vintage Dean Ambrose t-shirt, which is the second wrestling t-shirt that I ever bought.
Who's Dean Ambrose?
And that proves that he's a face. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Enjoy wrestling. Have a great night.